Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to episode 14 of In the Red Corner. As always, I'm joined by Mr. Grant Winstanley. How are we, sir?
Not too bad, sir.
Good. It's a big week, red versus blue. Big decisions to be made over the next couple of days. But Grant, I think my opening question to you is, if blue win, is Ole Gunnar Solskjær going to be out of a job?
I like what you did there. Unfortunately, I think he will be.
Wow.
I honestly believe that in the next sort of 3 or 4 games, which could all take place in about a week or so, he's got to get maximum points. It's just got to that stage. We've already been a game behind in the league, so we're sitting at like 15th in the league. But even if we win our next game and kind of catch up, we're still only around like 10th or 12th. United have shown over the years that they don't hang about with this stuff. I mentioned to you in the week, Mauricio Pochettino being seen on Monday Night Football was an interesting appointment from Sky Sports there. And like we've said, it's whoever jumps first. Man City probably need a manager soon in regards to Guardiola's contract. Man United need a manager. There's a lot of people that will be calling upon Pochettino, and you've got to be the club that strikes first. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, he's up for grabs, isn't he? And I think just putting himself back in the limelight there, he obviously smells blood in the water, especially around the Manchester area. There's been some weak results from both of them. We know what Guardiola's like in terms of he usually makes his decision earlier and he gives people a bit of notice about what he wants to do. The results of United, arguably they're a bit up and down, arguably haven't been good enough. So yeah, Pochettino will be out for one of those jobs. I would have thought. There's other contenders as well, but like you said, it's who jumps first because he'll want to sort himself out as well, and he's going to be first up for pretty much all of these, or pretty much any big job that goes in the Premier League in the next months. And unfortunately for the managers that are in charge now, it might not be the case that that you need to get sacked at this point. But if a club like United wants to snap up Pochettino, they might have to jump first. And it's looking a little bit like that, isn't it, at United? Just the fact that Pochettino has just resurfaced again. United are coming towards the end, I guess, of this tough run of results. But with the results they've picked up in this tough period, it's almost extended the run of tough games ahead because the pressure's on a little bit more. The Everton game of the weekend is huge, and when Everton have been great at the start of this season, the points you can't afford to be losing and going away in Europe as well. It's not easy, even though it's side. It's still anywhere in Turkey away in Europe. It's tough to go points up, and with the fixtures coming thick and fast in the Premier League in December, you want to get this kind of qualification wrapped up or as close to being wrapped up as you can. So it's going to be a big week or two for Ole, and it'd be interesting to see how he pulls the squad together. I mean, it started at the weekend, didn't it? Really, with the
Arsenal.
What did you make of the game? Where did you slip up there? Really?
Where didn't we slip up? It was awful. It was a really awful game. Didn't create anything. I told you Aubameyang would score. We mentioned him last week, a little bit quiet. We knew what was going to happen. But for me, I wanted to see a bit more rotation in the team. There was a lot, like Fred and McTominay, they've played it kind of the Leipzig games, the league games, the Paris away games, and they've had real tough, they've had real leggy performances. They've had to put a lot of work in. I was expecting somebody to maybe come in as a fresh face there. Obviously, we will mention him, but Paul Pogba, once again giving away a penalty. I mean, I've been saying every single week that Donny van der Beek should be starting over Pogba, and I certainly want to see him in there. I think Pogba's give away 3 of our last 5 penalties. I think that stat came from my dad, so thanks for that. I'm pretty sure it's 3 out of 5. There's while Mata, every time he's played really well this season. He didn't feature, so I don't know what's going on. There's there's something not right with the home form. I think we haven't won our last 6 games at home, which is like a worrying.
That happened,
Yeah, it's weird. It's very and Solskjaer keeps every single interview. He always talks about the fans not being there and getting them over the line. It's like, but that's every team. Yeah, it's like it's not just against us, so you can't say that as as an excuse. So like I said, Pogba's not. He should. I think we need to cash in. I said it earlier that we need to cash in on him, get whatever we can. He's the worst central midfielder with his back to his own goal because he does something stupid. He gives the ball away. It's a lazy leg, or Arsenal haven't been that good. Arsenal haven't been great this season. They've had a few.
They're not. They're not lighting the world on fire, are they?
Yeah. So when the game kicks off at 3:30 a.m. Australia time, I don't really appreciate performances like that. I just don't appreciate it. There was a lot that was wrong tactical naivety. Like I said, rotation. It's not what I want to see. Looking ahead, we've got away in Turkey, as you mentioned earlier, tomorrow morning. Yes, I think we will beat them, but the travel's not ideal, especially with the red versus blue clash at the weekend. The good thing for Ole is that we play the Turkish team away, and then we play them. We play Istanbul Başakşehir at home after that. So essentially, if we win both games, we've won 4 out of 4, and that should see us probably top the group, but definitely qualify and should probably do to top the group, which means Leipzig and Paris Saint-Germain aren't the kind of non-entities now if we qualify. So that's kind of the saving grace. But it's like I've been saying, the league results will probably dictate, regardless of Champions League, the league results are going to dictate his fate.
Yeah. And then I guess moving forward from there, how are you feeling about Everton the weekend? Because they are a team that have surprised a lot of people so far this. They've had a few rough results over the last couple of weeks. Yeah. Obviously, they're now. I believe a couple of those players are back now for Everton, and they're going to want to kick on, aren't they? And prove to people that it wasn't just a flash in the pan.
Yeah.
How'd you set up against them? What are you hoping for?
Yeah, well, similar to what I said about Arsenal, I want to see, Martial will be back for us after his suspension. Maybe a Juan Mata will be in there. I don't know what Tellez's situation is. I think because he tested positive for coronavirus. I don't know what the rules are at the moment, whether he's been isolated or if he needs a negative test or whatever it is. So I want to see him obviously over Shaw. Don't want to see Pogba in the squad, to be honest. I'm done with him.
He will be.
I think he will be, yeah, because I think Solskjaer's the type of to never ruffle feathers, and that's why I think that it's setting a bad image when Pogba's kind of the first name on the team sheet. You sign Donny van der Beek and you're not playing him. He's chomping at the bit and look lively every time he's come on. And the saving grace is we're playing away from home because obviously we can't win at Old Trafford, so we have been better away from home. Like you say, on the face of it, you say, oh, well, maybe Everton's bubble has burst, but, Richarlison's been missing, James, Seamus Coleman, the captain. So these are 3 big players for Everton. And if they're back in the team, then it's going to be, a tough test. And like I say, there's no room for error at all. There's no room for error. And, if it means Pogba not being in the squad and give him the Ozil treatment like Arsenal do, so be it. Because we just need to cash our chips in January and just wipe our hands and say it's not really worked. So
window a bit. Isn't that's one of the reasons he's playing him? Is he trying to
maybe
game time and give him a look? I guess.
Maybe. But I don't. Yeah, but yeah.
I guess if someone's going to sign him in January, they want to know that he's been playing and he's matched.
Yeah, but I think there's not too many buyers out there. I think this is the Paul Pogba of 4 years ago is a lot different to the one now, I would say, and it's kind of Real Madrid they're probably negotiating the way through Eden Hazard at the moment. He's been very underwhelming as a big signing. I'd only see Paris Saint-Germain, French international, World Cup winner. I could see him going to the Paris capital and feeling at home, and maybe they'll get the best out of him.
Like he needs to go somewhere where he's the man, you know. And there's I think in France is where he's going to get that reputation. And, you know, and he's always done that for France, and one of the top players, and he's just never kind of replicated it.
I know. Exactly.
But maybe.
And he's had ample enough time to be the man, by the way, at Man United. Ample enough time. Before Bruno Fernandes, he had all the makings to be the man. But whether it's a system, whether it's tactical, whether it's system, I've never, for about at least 2 years, I've never seen Pogba grab the game by the scruff of the neck. It was that you can see the penalty against Arsenal. A true world-class player then gets the ball and says, "Right, I'm going to show them. It's my fault, lads. I'll make it 1-1. I'll get stuck." And you never see that. So.
Well, I guess as they say, we've got a week or so, and so I mean, just to finish off with that, when is now the crunch time for Ole? Is it literally you drop points, you're a goner, or do you think there's going to be like a bit of a time that if he gets to this time next week and he hasn't picked up the points he needed, how quick is this going to happen?
Yeah. Well, I say maximum points. Win it, Turkey away. He has to beat Everton for the league, and then you've got to win Turkey again. Now, what he might do is, does he look at the away game in Turkey and thinks we'll probably beat them at beat them at Old Trafford, who knows? But does he look to rotate the team because he's kind of got 2 good wins in the bag in the Champions League, and says he's looking at Everton game and he's thinking, I need a league result. I need to rest players, and that is the most important of the games. So there could be some rotation tomorrow.
It's a gamble, isn't it, though? Because you go, even if you're going away and you're playing a week,
I know.
Coming off a defeat as well. It's you've got a couple of defeats on the bounce.
So,
and it's rough.
So we'll see. So in a week, so the next time we film and do the podcast, I think we'll know by then, and there could be no manager at the helm, or Pochettino's, the rumour mill circling, and who knows.
It'll have to be Poch as well, because Giggsy ain't getting it.
Oh no, he's not. So so who knows? So obviously, moving on from Man United, as always, I'll pass it over to you, Matt. How was Jota's week? I mean, how's Liverpool's week been?
Liverpool's week's been good, and it's been a lot down to Diogo Jota.
Yeah.
I mean, the West Ham game seems an absolute lifetime ago.
Yeah, I know.
A long weekend here in Melbourne, so I'm trying to think. What happened. The West Ham game for me was another example of just finding a way to win it, just grinding the result. It's something that we did this at this stage of the season last year, and we're doing it again. Not particularly well, but doing enough to get a result, and that's exactly what the big story coming out of the game was. Was Nat Phillips' performance. Came in, obviously with us having a few of the weakened defense at the minute. He came in and he did exactly what he needed to do. He played that traditional kind of the cliched Sunday league pub team defender where he just put his head on everything.
Daryl the Barrel.
Oh yeah, yeah. But he did exactly what was needed. I think he set his stall out early doors. Ball came into the box and he just clattered into the defender, got his head, got it away. He honestly headed it about as far as the halfway line. It was unbelievable.
Wow.
But he was consistent, and I think he was able to play his own game. He didn't get put under a lot of pressure, I think, obviously with Antonio being out. Is it Heller
Heller,
didn't perform, didn't get into the game, didn't put him under pressure. But he did exactly what was asked for him, and it was a match performance for him. So that was a big story coming out of that one. I want to see him against City. If we're being honest, I think for any of the teams that are gonna play along the floor, they're gonna use the intricate passing and stuff. He'd time and knots. But for any of those teams that are gonna plow the ball into the box, he'll do a job for us moving forward. And might need a bit of that rotation, because we know the likes of Matic, Fabinho, Gomez even are going to have time on the sidelines, and it's good to have someone like him, and even Reece Williams who played last night. On the bench, they're young, a little bit inexperienced, but they've done exactly what, and you can't ask any more, really.
Exactly. Well, the confidence, like I said, the confidence that you have as a side. They look at that team around them and say, I'm a young kid getting a chance, but these top players around me will help me through it. And if I muck up for a goal, we're probably going to score 2 or 3 down the other end anyway.
That's the beauty of it, I guess. The game, it wasn't the most entertaining game in the world, and we were a bit frustrated at times. But when I was watching it, I had supreme confidence that we'd score at some point. The clock was ticking. I was like, we'll get one here. It's like watching Liverpool at the minute. They'll do what they need to do to get the win, to get the point. And they did. Jota came on off the bench. Shaqiri came on, and they changed the game. Jota's just, he's so clinical, so assured, so confident at the minute. And I'll touch on it about Atlanta, but.
And he even had one ruled out with 10 minutes to go, and even still, you go, there's still time that it kind of you're kind of not nervous. A goal disallowed on the 85th minute. Yeah, I felt the same, and I thought they're still going to get one. But there's still plenty of time.
You can feel it, and you know what? If I can feel that as a fan watching on the telly, I think the team can feel it as well.
Yeah.
There's no panic there. There's no frustration. It was just like, that's all right.
Yeah.
Go again. Just keep playing the way we're playing. And on that ball from Shaqiri, they put him in for the winner was just sublime.
Yeah.
And that's the effect that Shaqiri's had. We've missed a fit Shaqiri really because although he's not a direct replacement for that front three, because he doesn't play the same. He doesn't have the running behind anyone, but his vision and his movement and his ability to come in to read a game almost from the bench, come on and know exactly where he needs to be, and the ball going to work in that instance. And just slotted absolutely perfectly for Jota, and in his form of the minute, there was no missing that. So we just keep building on it, don't we? Now we're top of the league now I think we're 2 points clear, which is is exactly where we want to be. We just got to keep this up really. We brought that confidence I think through to Atlanta. It was this morning here, so okay. I was a bit surprised at the side. I thought he might have got a little bit weaker than he did actually, but it's on the horizon. But
try and just obviously looking at the fixtures and say, let's get it done. Like you say, qualify. Similar to United, try and qualify as early as you can. And we
had the same kind of conundrum as you were just saying. Then we could almost afford. You can afford to drop 2 games, I suppose. And I thought maybe we might have chosen to drop this one, knowing we've got City at the weekend, and then we're bringing them back to Anfield when it starts. But I think the other element in this is the 5 subs, isn't it? In Europe, you can get the players off, and how this game played out as well. He was able to do so.
Yeah.
So there's an argument there that you don't really need to weaken your side too much. You can keep that momentum, keep the confidence going from the team.
And was there something we was briefly texting this morning, and was you a bit surprised about the way Atalanta set up? You seem to be pretty critical of their system, right?
I was baffled at how they set up. They played in a way that nobody plays against Liverpool anymore because you get caught out. It was almost like the homework, and they either that or they just gambled and thought that they've been a good side and they've scored a lot of this season. I thought maybe they just thought maybe with some of our defensive frailties, I guess.
Yeah.
Williams started. Maybe they could get at us, but it did not pay off. They played this high line, and we were ready for it. We would just put the balls over the top, just sent in Salah, each time to chase it, and their pace, they just couldn't deal with it. They're all over the place. So I was surprised the way they set up. It was a bit mad, and we gave them a hiding in the end. I thought Reece Williams was great again. They could have put him under a lot of pressure there, because Reece Williams is another one similar to what we were saying about Nat Phillips.
Yeah.
Reece Williams was playing at Kidderminster last season, and he's come in for Liverpool. He's got 3 appearances now in the Champions League, 3 clean sheets. He must just think, where does this come from? How am I here? But hats off to him again. He's not done anything spectacular, but he's done everything we've asked of him. And to keep those clean sheets in the Champions League is a great asset.
Yeah.
I mean, just further on, I've said it before, but Jota just so clinical at the minute. And I think the biggest thing that you can take away from it is he looks like he's enjoying himself. He looks like he's playing here. He had a nice quote after the game where I think the whoever interviewed him asked him whether he was in the form of his life. or something like that, and he just said, "I'm just playing in a fantastic team. It's the best team I've ever played in," and he's just really enjoying it. And that's with him coming off the bench fairly regularly as well. It's not starting every game. There's a big question for Klopp now. Coming into the weekend, he's getting to the point where he's going to be undroppable. But to drop Firmino, it's a big move for Klopp because Firmino's been an absolute staple of Klopp's Liverpool, and he's almost the way that we play was built largely around Firmino. Got a good record in big games as well against City, notably. To drop him out the side for that is a big one. But it's to the point now where the fans we're trusting of Klopp. The fans are almost going to be a bit like, how can't you play? You play Jota. It's a good problem to have, but it is a problem, and I do wonder what he's going to do at the weekend. What would you do if you, from a United perspective, would you be playing?
Yeah, I think. I think the way that the season's played out, even because we're both fantasy football managers, and even the up and down that you've seen so far of results, you've got to stick with those form players. And it seems to be that if you're in form at this so far this season, you've got to stick with them. So I would actually start Jota, and you know what? If he's maybe not having that impact, well, get Firmino on for the last 30 minutes. What you would do to Jota, and you know what? That might put a rocket up his bum and go, you know what? Firmino goes, I need to get the winner here. To keep my place next week, I need to get the winner. And then suddenly, Firmino comes off the bench, potentially gets the winner, and then suddenly next week, well, Firmino's back in. And it's kind of, I think he needs that, it's that kind of untouchable element. He needs that competition now and goes, because I'm sure Firmino wouldn't argue if Jota is played in front of him, by the way, at the weekend, he goes,
he hasn't got much of a leg to stand on, really. I think Jota's offering everything that Firmino's not at the minute. The pace, the movement, the accuracy, the clinical finishing. Firmino's offering none of that at the minute. He just doesn't look himself. And I don't know if it's a confidence thing. I don't know if he's just a bit burnt out. We've asked a lot over 5 seasons. He's
exactly. He's been an ever constant, isn't he?
And he's been an ever constant. Maybe a bit of time out of the team. It's just a big, I think, and for the City game as well. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if we've got Jota coming on off the bench again. If he starts and it doesn't work out, bringing Jota on at 60 minutes with time to work isn't the worst thing in the world. But I wouldn't even like to make a prediction. I don't know what he will do against City. I really.
Well, just to finish off on Jota, when you signed him, I was kind of gutted because I knew that was going to be a great signing for you type thing, and it came, caught us all out of the blue, to be honest, when you signed him. But watching him play, I feel as though he's been there for about 3 seasons, and it's as if he's just slotted in. He's the perfect player, and as you say, he could be the rightful heir to the Firmino throne, if you want to call it that. But I just think he's slotted in perfectly for you guys, unfortunately.
Really quickly, and it's almost surprising because the way that Klopp plays, it usually takes people a little while to get in. If you remember when Andy Robertson came, it took him like 6 months to get himself into the side. He became what he became. But you don't just walk into a Klopp side generally. Even the left back replacement for Robbo, the Tsimikas, he even brought Milner on this morning at left back rather than Tsimikas, who was on the bench. And I can imagine it's because he's just not ready to play the role yet. Jota's just rocked in, just taking up Firmino. Arguably the most consistent player.
And I would say another one too that is, for the couple of years he's been there, Naby Keita's still not nailed down his place.
No, I was all high on Naby Keita this season. I was talking to you about it, and I really thought this would be it. It's just he's a quality player. We thought the purpose of the sign was he's never been able to string that form together for Liverpool. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the way we play. I can't put my finger on it, but he came on today for a little bit and just he doesn't influence the game. A little like you were saying with Pogba, he just can't. There's no way he can influence it in like a meaningful notice. Doesn't to get himself into the games. So it's another good example. I don't think we'll see Naby, around that. He's not in that first 11, unfortunately, now. he's nowhere near it. We might see him here and there coming off the bench if we're looking for something different, because he does have that kind of intricate movement that we need, and it's a little bit different. But I think looking towards City, obviously we've got Matip. Hopefully will be back in defence. I know he's in full training now. I've got my fingers crossed we'll see Thiago back in a starting position as well, but not 100% sure. So we're going to have a strong side out, and I'm quietly confident that we'll turn City over. You know, they've been a bit inconsistent. Don't feel like they've clicked into gear yet. Whereas I feel like we are kind of moving through the gears now. We're getting the wins, building the confidence, and now after this morning's performance, it was more of that Liverpool we know, where they're able to turn teams around and just blow them away.
Yeah.
I'm quite confident that we'll turn City over, but you know that they're still a quality side with quality players, and for a second it'll be an easy game.
Yeah, excellent. And obviously, moving on from our our Premier League segment, we're still working on the jingle. Now it's time for my betting tips of the week. Now, as I said, we're still working on it, so we will get there. But I'll blow my own trumpet, but 7-1 winner. I said it last week. Anyone that tuned in, I won the week before, and I did say those 4 fixtures I picked, there'd be at least 3 goals, and I don't know how many in total, but there were heaps. There were heaps of goals in those 4 fixtures.
Yeah.
But we move on to this week. So you're probably wondering, what should I back this week, Grant? The guru? No, I'm no guru. I'm no guru. Looking at the fixtures, I've not really done the odds yet. I've not really worked out in terms of definitive odds. But all I would say for this week, the Premier League, is there will be a lot of score draws, I believe, this week. I'm looking at Brighton, Burnley. I'm looking at Southampton, Newcastle. I'm looking at Palace and Leeds, Leicester v Wolves, United and Everton, City and Liverpool. So, it's each to their own as to what kind of multi that you want to put on. My advice would be put a few in a betting slip, both teams to score and a draw result. And, and if one of those comes in, Merry Christmas. Christmas has come early. But as always, we've always got to remember, always gamble responsibly. Always check the bill payer's permission. You must be 18 and over. And when the fun stops, stop.
Brilliant. Well said. I guess there's a little segment before we get into some of the UFC stuff. We've got the AFL trade period has opened today, so we've not heaps to report, obviously, because it's literally been a couple of hours. But Saints have made their first signing, first trade of the season. We picked up Brad Crouch from Adelaide Crows. He was a free agent. We offered him a contract. Adelaide, I think they declined the offer. Declined the option to kind of rebut the offer and their own deal to him. So we've got Brad Crouch early doors, joins our midfield. So alongside Hannah Gresham.
Good signing.
Yeah, really good signing. Good to get them done early doors as well. So I'm very excited to see what else in this period. And I know there's a bit of a rebuilding job going on for Essendon.
Yeah,
a couple of outs, I'm sure. And then a bit of you're gonna have to graft, I think, to get some back in and get the feeling back in the club. So we'll have more to say about this over the next couple of weeks, I imagine. But, it's good just to know that the trade period's opening, and almost we're starting to build up to next season already. So,
that's it.
UFC. Last weekend's card wasn't a barnstormer. I've got to say, and even when we look at this week's, it's not full of superstar names, but we are coming off the back of Fight Island. You've got the election going on in the US, which I think kind of puts things on hold a little bit for Dana White in terms of what events he can and can't put on hold over the next couple of weeks. I think the fate of that election will kind of determine the direction they go over the next couple of months, especially on the American dates for the American fighters and the ability to bring the European fighters into the States. I think the UFC and Dana White are really hoping for a Donald Trump win, so we can all just pretend COVID's not a thing and just crack on, I guess. Well, last weekend's card, the main event was Anderson Silva's potential swansong. I guess we don't. against Uriah Hall. I'll swing it to you before I give you my opinion. What do you think of that main event and Anderson's performance?
You can see why Dana said after the fight in the post-fight press conference that he shouldn't have granted him that fight. I think Dana made the comment that, you're 45 years of age. If you're ever in a fight, it should be to protect your family or, to save your life. At 45 years of age, you've made the cheese. What are you doing? The main event took a while to get warmed up, probably a couple of rounds. I thought Uriah Hall a little bit hesitant, as if it's, he didn't want to punch his idol in the face, but you are against him, so you've got to do your job and hit him. So Uriah Hall got the win. Again, not really a main event that will be talked about if it wasn't for the potential swan song of Silva. And I don't think he's certainly done in UFC, but I think Silva will easily be like a Bellator. Unfortunately, it'll be someone that Bellator snap up because it's Anderson Silva. How did you see the main event?
It's sad to say it, especially if it's Silva's last fight, but it was bloody rubbish.
Yeah, yeah, it was.
Unfortunately, I just don't think Silva's got anything to offer in that division now. There's a few flashy moments in there. He does all his hand fighting stuff, and
yeah,
he's obviously a true martial artist, and he's still got the move, but he just doesn't have that, that ability to bite down and finish fight. He doesn't have that clinical ability to knock people out or to get them to the ground and finish them. It's just not there anymore. I think that, and the disappointing part of it, he didn't have a good dance partner either.
No.
Uriah Hall, like you said, totally gun shy. He had so much potential coming into the UFC, coming out of the Ultimate Fighter, and he's never lived up to it. He's obviously a top athlete. He's an amazing shape. I just don't know whether mentally he needs to sort it out, where he needs to get that kind of killer instinct about him, or he needs a bit more confidence. He needs to go down maybe, and fight some lower rank guys and get his confidence up. I don't know whether matchmaking's been right for him. He seems to have all the tools and just doesn't seem to be able to put it together and use it.
That first round was very similar to when we watched Izzy and Anderson Silva live. A similar thing where it's your idol, you don't want to hurt him, but it's like, come on, do something.
Easy fight where it's almost like people get across the octagon for him and or suddenly realize that it's Anderson Silva stood.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it does. He has that effect on someone, whether it's you don't know how dangerous he can be, or you just don't want to start your idol. I don't know what it is, but the first round was a complete non-event, and Dana was very critical, I think, of Uriah Hall after it. And we talk about call-outs a lot, don't we? And you don't want to harp on about it, but there almost needs to be a call-out coach within the UFC, because it does my head in when these people make these absolute ridiculous call-outs, or they don't do. Calling out Adesanya after that performance is absolutely mental.
I know.
And it just doesn't make any sense. And he's got a call out needs to be realistic. It needs to be achievable. It needs to be a little bit audacious, but within the realms of possibility. After a performance like that, calling out the champion who's actually going up a weight division is not. And you've wasted your time there.
Exactly. Maybe Chael Sonnen should be hired for the UFC as the call-out coach, because I can guarantee he wouldn't have even mentioned Adesanya. He would have just looked at Silva and said, "Anderson Silva, you absolutely suck," as he said in the past.
I think that it's a funny one, isn't it, with the mentality, because you shouldn't go into the fight knowing what you're going to say.
Yeah.
Because you're obviously thinking too hard. But, I don't know. You've got to be able to rock the mic. You've got to at least know the possibilities.
You've got to be at least be set. It might not be. You don't have to be entertaining in a McGregor or a Sonnen, but just do a sensible call out. That's all we ask. Just do something that you go, oh yeah, I can see that for his next fight. That's all we ask.
Fans to be like, oh yeah, and you need UFC to be like, oh, makes sense. Yeah, two of those things, and you're sweet.
Yeah.
Ridiculous calls out are an absolute waste of time, and they're embarrassing in all honesty.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the main event. It's like you say, in terms of Anderson Silva's future, it's a shame. He's got one fight left. Obviously, Dana's not keen to book him. I kind of hope that there's life for him in the UFC yet. But in an ambassador or being an analyst or something, he's a god in Brazil, and the UFC a couple of Brazil cards a year. Give him a job, give him something to do so that he doesn't have to fight.
Yeah.
He's going to campaign for that last fight. I'm sure he'll campaign for it whenever they next go to Brazil as his his last fight. But
yeah,
go on forever, and it's a slidey slope which ends up in Bellator. And I hope that the UFC will protect some of those those assets that people look up. If you want to research the sport in Brazil a little bit, they need a role model to look up to, and and a bit of an ambassador for the sport.
Yeah.
To the likes of Anderson Silva, Jose Aldo have been those things.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him get something like that, something like Dan Hardy has over here. I'd like to see him, Anderson Silva, have that in Brazil, where he's got a role to play in the UFC, which doesn't involve him.
Yeah. I think the way Dana's stance is with Anderson Silva reminds me very, very similar to BJ Penn. Thanks for all your service. You've been great. But then it gets to a point where you're really sort of worried about the health as well, and Dana goes, I don't want it on my hands. Like, no, like, thank you for everything. I respect you so much that I'm not putting you in another fight. That's what the respect is.
I don't respect him belts, I will put him in. So he wants, and try and do that. But if Silva wants to fight, he can, and he will. For those kind of people, it's about giving them something else to do so that they don't fight anymore. But, we'll see what comes with that one. Co-main event was a bit more exciting. Bryce Mitchell, Andre Fili, brilliant scrap. I was impressed with both of these guys. Both featherweight contenders. We'll see, and prospects, I would say, more so than a contender at this point. Bryce Mitchell's grappling is next level, but I thought Fili did really well considering how high level Bryce Mitchell is. Fili did really well to defend a lot down there and to stay in the fight. What did you think of that?
Yeah, impressive. And I don't know about you, but I've never wanted camo shorts as much in all my life. How cool were they?
Very, very cool.
Listen, I said on the preview last week, I think this kid is going to be a star. The fact that the UFC have granted him these camo shorts as well, just those little things that, that go a long way. And I think he's a star in the making. He's always there to fight. The grappling was unbelievable and more or less, shut Fili down. And Fili was doing his best to, not be submitted and still be in the fight. But I think Mitchell's quality just shone through. But, both have a bright future. But, fair play to Bryce. Got it done.
Tough one to match up, isn't it, now? Because when you get that level of grappling, people don't want to fight you. I saw someone mention Ryan Hall as a great matchup. But again, I don't think the UFC will want to give that to Mitchell either because Ryan Hall is someone that everyone avoids.
Yeah.
Again, when you're so good at something, especially on the ground like that, the risk reward is huge, isn't it? Very high risk of getting submitted against Ryan Hall for very little reward because he's not really ranked.
Yeah.
I think they need to be careful with Mitchell's, his next matchups. But he's going to climb those ranks really quickly. I think in a division that's quite full of strikers, if I think off the top of my head, it's going to be very dangerous. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he progresses.
Yeah, absolutely.
Other notable, fights on the card. I thought Greg Hardy was impressive. He kind of comes each time with a bit of a stain against his name. Is a bit of the ex-NFL.
He's not one of us because of he's not a true, mixed martial artist.
Every time I see him compete, and he competes fairly regularly, to be fair to him, heavyweight, looks better. You can tell he's an athlete with an athlete's mentality of he's going to grind and he's going to keep improving. When he came into the UFC, he was a power puncher. He had that one punch knockout power, and he steamrolled through his first few opponents, and then you come unstuck, don't you? Unless you continue to build your game, and now you can see that he's starting to have an all-round game. He's able to grapple. He was able to push them against the fence. And that Maurice Green is a decent heavyweight, 6'7". He's dangerous. And although he kind of said it was a bit of an early stoppage, I thought it was a good stoppage.
I agree.
And I was impressed with Greg Hardy. So it's going to be. Go on, sorry.
I was going to say, I don't know about you, but I was praying at the end of that first round when Herb Dean had to have a word with him about like the finger put. I thought one thing, Greg Hardy cannot have another fight where it's an illegal punch. It's your inhaler on the stool. It's like, know the rules and please don't do something stupid. And he didn't, and he got the win. So
experience, isn't it? He's in there and he's learning. I mean, you're a professional and you should know the rules before you come into those fights. But
yeah,
I guess in terms of the sport itself, and just being involved in martial arts, he's relatively new, isn't he? And he's going to come up against these things. I guess he just needs to keep picking up experience, keep adapting in the fight. He listened to Herb Dean, thankfully, and he got the job done. So yeah, I was quite impressed with him. And heavyweight's interesting at the minute. There's plenty of fights out there for him, so he's just got to keep showing up, I think, and keep improving contest on contest.
Yeah.
The other one who keeps showing up is Kevin Holland. I can't even tell you who he fought because it was another last minute change again. Wasn't it? I'm impressed with Holland, and it's all well and good. When you're talking about fighters of the year, he's got to be in the conversation because he's had like 4 fights, John, over this short kind of COVID period in the grand scheme of things. Won them all mostly convincingly. It was a close one with Darren Stewart, but won them all very convincingly. The problem is he's got the 4 wins there, but they're against nobodies.
Yeah,
taking these last minute opponents, which is fine. The UFC loves it. Dana loves it because he's there, and he's getting paid.
Yeah.
And he's competing, which is the most important thing. But if you're looking to make a run at a title, or if you're making, you just want to be a ranked contender or whatever, you've got to start calling out some contenders. You can't be the guy that just shows up. Although the UFC values the person who never turns down a fight and always, there's a line there where you're also just an absolute yes man who fights anyone, but even if it's not to your kind of benefit, I suppose.
Yeah.
And that's why I worry about him a bit now. He's put these 4 wins together.
Yeah.
Now he needs to be going to the UFC and saying, right,
yeah.
I'm a top 10 or a top 15 contender. I want a full fight camp. So give me a date, 2-3 months ahead. Let's do it. Let's give me someone who's not going to pull out. And let's see where I'm at after that. And if I can get a win there, then I'm calling out top 10. And moves then.
Completely agree.
Yeah, but it's impressive. Yeah, I think you've got to take your hat off to him just for being active.
Yeah.
You've got to look after yourself as well, and hopefully he's got his management.
He'll probably fight again before the year's out.
Wouldn't surprise me. I wouldn't mind, on one of the December cards, if you look at it now, give him the kind of 2 months, 6 weeks to train, but give him a opponent now that's not going to pull out on him. Let him see how he goes, and then let him call somebody out. Because he's good on the mic. He's really charismatic as well, isn't he? He's someone I don't would waste a call out. He's very good and he's very entertaining, but he needs to be catapulted off something. He needs to be catapulted off a decent win, off a decent camp, put in a really good performance. So I agree with you. Maybe another fight before the end of the year to catapult 2021. I don't know, but hats off to him. This weekend, it's another card that on the face of it you think, again, but I will caveat with it's been an incredible period where it has been back-to-back fights of superstar caliber. You just can't do that all the time, especially when people are fighting multiple times and you're building big cards for the end of the year. There's just not enough people, and there's too many cards. But when you look at this card, when you dig into it a little bit more, not as bad as it first seems. It's actually quite interesting without having any of the superstar names.
Yeah.
So main event, Santos versus Glover Teixeira. I'll come to you because I've been wittering on for a while. Tell me about this fight. What do you think is going to happen? How do you think this one will play out? And I guess, are you interested in this one? Are these two fighters that excite you in that light heavyweight division?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really great matchup. Again, similar to what we've said in recent main events, it can go either way. You kind of all week you're thinking, will it go this way? Will it go that way? Both sort of big hitters. Santos, it's worth noting that he was fantastic last time out against Jones. Many think he won the fight. And he is actually the first fighter in MMA history to win a judge's scorecard against John Jones.
That's interesting.
So that's pretty notable. And from memory of that fight, all I remember is a brutal leg kick battle in that Jones scrap. It was incredible. Both left on crutches, and you can't say he isn't tough. I think he sustained from the fight a torn left LCL, PCL, MCL. meniscus tear, a cracked tibia, I think, or something like that, and a partially torn right ACL he suffered in that fight. So you know, and again, we said it last week. Sounds a lot like something Neymar would do, wouldn't it? Very similar. Fighting on and doing his job for the injuries. But yeah, so he obviously, you know, he's fighting through the pain barrier. Now you look at Glover, he's won his last 4, you know, hard hitter. Those hands are just frightening. He can knock anybody out, really. I think he looked very impressive of late as well. It's kind of, he's getting better. I don't know about you, but the Anthony Smith fight still gives me nightmares. The way he pieced together Anthony Smith.
Yeah.
He's on, yeah. And yeah, it can go either way, and it's a tough one to call. And we don't know how Thiago Santos has been in training throughout these injuries. I know it was, you know, over a year ago, these injuries, but he had so many of them. You just don't know what his mobility is going to be like. Is the movement going to there? So I'm actually leaning towards Glover to catch him with. I'm going to actually say Glover will catch him with something, just because maybe he's not as fluid and as maybe he once was. But it's a tough one. So Matt, how do you think it's going to go?
I'll disagree with you. I think
okay.
I think that Santos. I fancy Santos in this one.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting matchup because they both match up very, very similar. Both 76 reach. But, you know, and they're both strikers. They're both heavy hitters, power punchers. Yeah. You know what you're going to get with them.
Yeah.
Which makes it a really interesting matchup. Like you said, we haven't seen Santos for a little while. Been out for over a year after the horrific game fighting John Jones. And I think the other thing that's probably gone against him a little bit is that this light heavyweight division is so interesting at the minute, and it's moved on so much since he last fought. He's almost a bit of the forgotten man, isn't he? You know, he was fighting, and then all of a sudden, there's 3 or 4 names there in front of him.
Yeah. Well, if he wasn't injured, they would have ran it back, wouldn't they? They would have ran Santos and Jones back straight away. So he could actually be the champion right now.
A really close fight. And you know, and the other interesting things about Santos is, you know, in terms of the division, he's got a win over Jan Blachowicz. He's beaten the likes of Anthony Smith, and they both share wins over him. Jimmy Manoa, he had a great scrap with Jimmy Manoa in the first round in London, I think.
Yeah.
So we know what power he possesses. But on the flip side, I mean, you've got to take your hat off to Teixeira. Experience is on his side. He seems to have put a run together now, some good wins. And yeah, like the last win he had against Anthony Smith was nothing short of savage. I've never wanted a fight to end so badly. I want to end. I think if you're Santos and you're coming into this fight, it's a horrible thing to say. You're going to target those legs, aren't you? You go off those leg kicks. You're going to try and kick that knee out. You know, a couple of the famous Rob Whittaker knee stomps.
Yeah.
If you're wanting to really slow Santos down and not allow him to put his weight on his front feet, if he's going to throw those power hands.
Yeah.
But if the movement is still there from Santos, I think he's probably got youth on his side there, and I think he's also a proven contender that is still arguably on his way up. And I think the power and the intensity that Santos will be able to put him early, I think Santos will get the win there. But
fair enough.
Interesting fight that could go either way. It really could. Is the winner back in the mix for a title shot, do you think?
Yes.
I think so.
Yes, I think so. Obviously, if the reports are true about this whole Izzy and Jan Blachowicz thing, that'll throw a spanner in the works. But if everybody stays in the lane, then I'd like to think Santos, if he wins, gets the title shot for the narrative, you know.
Yeah, I mean, and he deserves it because I think he came very close, and after the injuries and coming back, he will deserve that title shot. But yeah, like you said, Adesanya could throw a spanner in the works there and delay that a little bit. Luckily, there's lots of interesting fights. So, you know, if it's just whoever the winner of this is, if they're looking to just get fights under the belt, the opportunities are going to be there, even if it's not.
Yeah.
Co-main event. That for me jumped out to me massively because I thought it said everything about the card on the face of it. When I saw Arlovski and Tanabosa as a co-main event, I was like, Christ, this is a weak card.
Yeah.
I'm not taking nothing away from either of them. You know, Arlovski is an absolute legend of that heavyweight division, former champ. But I can't help but feel he's being fed to Tanabosa here. Bolster's coming off an impressive win on Fight
Yeah.
Island long ago. Wants to get back in there. Wants to have a run towards kind of this the top 10, top 5 of that heavyweight division. I think Arlovsky's a bit of a gatekeeper there now. Still capable of an upset, but I think you said it to me before. His chin is not what it once was. And Tanner also looked very, very dangerous on Fight Island. So I'm a bit worried for Arlovsky. I don't think this one will last very long, if I'm entirely honest.
No.
I think he's being served up on a silver platter for Tanner Bolsa here. Am I on the right track there? Or am I underestimating Arlovsky?
No, I completely agree. I mean, I was probably quoted saying maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, like, Arlovsky's done. Like, just hang him up, like, you know. And then, but then as of late, he's kind of won one, lost one. You know, he's kind of done that. So there was a little bit of a resurgence with him. But I just think you look at somebody like Boza that probably only needs, you know, to catch him once, really, regardless of his footwork or whatever it would be. And I just think, you know, Arlovsky had a custard cream chin anyway in the last sort of few fights. But, you know, it wasn't too long ago when Rosenstruck beat him in about 29 seconds, and getting punched off him, never mind your career, that takes a couple of years off your life, I would say. So I'm going to say the glass chin will be there, and Boza will knock him out, unfortunately, for Arlovsky.
2 other notable fights on this card that I wanted to mention here. Our mate Claudia Gadelha is finally fighting. She's had a few cancel, I think, recently, and, you know, been struggling to get it after she lost to Angela Hill. So it's good to see her back in. You know, she's a perennial contender in that division, and a quality fighter that's just not happened for. She really needs a win. She really, and she's been matched up against someone I can't say, but I'm gonna have a go. Xiaonan from China.
Yan. Who's called Yan?
From China. When I was just briefly looking over both of the records, and what was really interesting is that they're both decision winners. Both of them seem to be capable of
pillow fists.
Absolute pillow fists. Xiaonan is a striker, but in a sense, she doesn't seem to be able to put people away.
Yeah.
You know, it has a wrestling background. Her last win was in, I think, 2017 against Karolina Kowalkiewicz, and that was a win. So I think it's going to be a real grappler versus striker match. You can come out there. It's hard to see it going past the decision at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised. So of the full 3 rounds of this one. Do you know much about Claudia's opponent?
Yeah, well, I mean, looking at kind of like you're saying, you bang on with the analysis about the whole decision stuff, and I feel it's obviously that step up in competition for Yan. I think she's like 8th and Gadelha's 4th, so that's a pretty good matchup for, in terms of, you know, the UFC recognise it's a high level opponent for her. But I've noticed recently Gadelha, in a lot of interviews and a lot of recent embeddeds that she's been on, you know, she's changed the team. She's all talking about how better she's getting, the mindset, you know, and we want to see that now. We really want to see, you know, it's all good saying it, but you've actually got to back it up now, because, you know, a lot of people thought that she'd lost the Angela Hill fight. So, you know, so she has got to prove something here. But, you know, and, you know, we like Gadelha. We're a fan. She's a babe. You know, she's easy on the eye. Yeah. But a good fight. Yeah, a good fighter. But you're absolutely right what you say. She needs to win to get, you know, to get back up there where she wants to be and where she thinks she is. She needs to get the win. Now, I feel the UFC would probably want Yan to win, because I can see in a couple of fights she beats Gadelha, and then she gets maybe a second or a third or you know, top contender in the rankings. I think they look at Zhang and they look at her and they say, wow, a female event in like a Beijing or somewhere in that Asian market, to have 2 women Chinese fighters for the belt would be all eyes in China. And I think UFC would look at that and say, wow, when has that happened? And
it really, like you say, it just puts the onus on both of them, really.
Yeah.
it's a chance for both of them to stamp some authority on the position of the division.
Yeah.
Both need to look for that finish, and I think if one of them can find it, you're elevated in that division,
Yeah.
and the opportunities are endless there. But
Yeah.
I think almost the worst case scenario for them again is almost just grinding out kind of a nothing round decision victory. I just don't think it does anything for your progression.
Yeah.
It might be on your record, but it doesn't do anything for you.
Yeah, I think maybe, like you say, experience will prevail. I would say I'm leaning towards a Gedalia decision. However, it's quite possible that we could see like a Gedalia submission or something like that, and
that's what you need to
grind it out. I would say
you want to avoid the striking exchanges, get this round, look for the submission. That's what she needs to do. And I guess the opposite with her opponent, try and keep it on the feet, stay away, look for a knockout, or a TKO finish. So yeah, and that's what I was saying about this card is you might have these big names on the surface, but there's some interesting matchups here.
Yeah, that makes sense for the lay of the division and the lay of the land.
In the foundations, isn't it, for kind of bigger fights, and sometimes with the fight night cards, which aren't as big, you've almost got a bit more to gain from these cards, and the fighters, are out there to prove themselves.
Yeah,
you sometimes get these incredible fights here, and this one has got the makings of one in terms of what it can lead to. So finally, a bit of it's nice when when things come full circle and we're able to pull in a few things, people that we know and things that we mentioned in the past. If anyone watched the build up to the Khabib fight two episodes ago, maybe we had a friend, Adam Lane, on, and he spoke about his coach, his jiu-jitsu coach, Anthony Birchak, who had been training a little bit, waiting for a call up to the UFC. He's been in the UFC before. He's had 4 fights, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, about 4 years ago.
And since then, he's fought in other organizations. And Adam was confident that he was waiting for a call up, and that he was training, he was kind of on weight, and he was on standby effectively. Well, we found out today that call has come, literally as late as I think today or yesterday in the States. He's been called up to open the prelims on the fight card this weekend. An opponent dropped off due to COVID, so he's now to fight Gustavo Lopez. That's awesome. It's nice when things are mentioned a couple of weeks ago and it's kind of come to fruition. Have you spoken to Adam about it? Have you?
No, I've not. I need to send him a message actually, because like I said, we can credit Adam for it, because I'll say he broke the story for us 2 weeks ago. Technically, he said he'd been on standby about 4 times for the Apex. So yeah, here we go. And I'm gonna say, obviously we've got to lean towards Birchak. Of course we have. And I'm going to predict on this one that Birchak does it via submission. Okay. Lopez is making his debut. Sorry, he made his debut against Dishashvili, or however you say his name, Divashvili. But the interesting thing is Lopez has lost 5. I think he's had like 11 fights, and he's lost 5 of them via submission.
Right. Well, if you're Birchak coming to that, and you're known as a jiu-jitsu player, stick to what you know. You get this chance in the UFC. Don't do anything daft. Stick to what you know. He's coming off 3 wins in another organization, so his confidence is going to be high. Like Adam said, he's in shape. Yeah, I agree with you. I think take this where you're most comfortable and get the job done, because that leads to extended contract. It leads to more fights. A quick loss in this one does you no favors, really, does it? So I hopefully he sticks to what he knows and then he gets the win. That'll be awesome.
Yeah, it would. A great way to kick off the card.
That wraps us up there. We're the State of Origin is just about to start over here. So we can turn that on to kind of finish off our Wednesday night. As always, thank you very much for listening. I'm going to try and point to the top of the screen. If you look like here-ish, you'll see an old video that you might be interested in looking at. Yeah, right there. If you look down here, it's the subscribe button. So if you like what we do and you want to listen to a bit more and not miss out on it, hit the subscribe button.
That's it.
Thank you very much. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the sport, and we'll see you all next week. Cheers, Grant.
Thanks, guys. Cheers, man.